So I wasn't able to work much since the last stream, so I'm going to pick up where I left off. This is the mold that we had done on the last stream. It's the second half of a torso mold. So this is cast from the first one. So we're going to have, this is for the back half. So we're going to start by just taking this apart and see how it came out. Make sure we don't have any defects or flaws or anything. This taper on the top was here for overflow protection. I had to vacuum this mold a second time to ensure that the silicone got into all the little areas, little divots and stuff where there were peg holes and little areas that could have trapped air when I was pouring the silicone initially. It's just because the silicone will foam up when you put it in a vacuum, which sucks. It causes the air to expand and then pulls it out. So this is just to make sure that it didn't overflow. It was really on there. Okay, now I'm going to separate this from the bottom here with my utility knife. This is kind of dull, but it's still sharp enough that it works really well for this. Just cut kind of softly like through the bottom here. So I'm going to just separate this glue from the acrylic sheeting. So you can see it's all around here. I just want to completely separate it, and then I'll work on removing the box and exposing the mold itself. I need to route that music through my speakers. It's just come out of my laptop at the moment. I just forgot to do it before I started. I have a lot of stuff on my mind today. Sorry for the sniffling. It's I'm taking an allergy pill and hopefully it helps, but it doesn't work immediately. So maybe in another hour or so it'll be better. I'll have to come back later and scrape the rest of this off, but that's not important right now. And removing this from the sheet. So that's really on here this time. I guess it's going to be a little troublesome, but it should still work out. I think we have one more side to do here before this is ready to come off. part's just a little slow going to remove this. Usually isn't this difficult. It's just really on here this time. I guess it had a better bond than it normally does to the acrylic. I'll try removing it now with, I just use this flat knife. Just try to pry it up slowly. So I guess I'll just go around the edges and try to make sure it's separated. Looks like it's still stuck in a few places. Yeah, didn't go under enough on some of these. Just go around to each side again and try to make sure it's separated. Okay, it should be, the glue should be separated. That's the same corner we were on. Yeah, it's better. Must have just had a couple areas where it was still stuck on. Just tilt this slightly. You're gonna try to just separate it gently from the bottom. Sorry about that. Okay, that's off. Set that aside. I'm gonna switch this speaker real quick. Or not. Okay. Hopefully that's not too loud. Doesn't look like it is, but you never know. Okay, I'm just gonna trim off the rest of this glue. That looks good. I'm gonna separate this silicone from this foam because it won't want to come off like easily. So I find that if I pry this off first, it just makes like separating this whole thing easier. Okay. A little bit here, but this is probably just going to tear off. I probably don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to cut up this seam here. Down it, I guess. And that's probably going to be enough to open it. Oh yeah, that's right, it's inside too. I guess we're just going to destroy this, so I won't worry about it. The rest of this should come off pretty easily. This is all extra silicone that I used to bulk up. I was a little short on the material that I mixed, so having like scrap laying around you can use to fill, you know, to displace like what's there. Can sometimes save you from having to find a way around it. Alright, pull off all this crap here, cut this off. All these little fringes. So this is going to be the bottom of the mold once we're done here. Assuming everything worked out as planned. Alright. Collect all these scraps. Alright, so next is to remove this clay. This is like a thin piece that's supporting the other half of the mold. It's raised it so we could completely cover it in silicone. So this should be pretty, I don't like that right here that it's that thin, but it should be fine. Just separate this slowly. This piece should pretty much just pry it, like pull off. That's the wrong tool. We go to clay tool. This should just like pretty much just come right off. It's gonna pry under it slowly. There's a little bit of this excess here that got under, but that's not a big deal. I'll separate that clay out later. Okay, so now the real test is we're gonna try to separate our molds here. Pull out this positive side, so we need to separate the two sides first. We'll do that by just, you know, kind of gently. Is that the top? Yeah, so that's the top layer. Well, this time I sprayed mold release correctly. So it all should separate as expected. Might need a little bit of help. Okay. So basically I just need to try to pull this out of here, and it should come out. And it being so snug, it's not going to be like easy per se, but it should come out without much resistance. I guess maybe if I pull it from the sides. This one's got a much more snug fit than the previous mold I did. Yeah, I guess it was still connected in parts too. Alright, so let's snap that off, which is fine. Snap this off, which is fine. So we'll have to cut through to finish this channel. So that's our part A. And this is the inside of our other half. There's some little bits like down in here. I don't know how well you can see that. These little tiny, almost like film that got between parts, or into like some little nooks. So I'm just pulling some of those out. Overall, it looks pretty good. So we had to clean this mold, and then we'll do a test cast. Let's see how that comes out. Which, if it's anything like the previous one, it should be pretty good. It should actually be better. The only thing I'm concerned about is these all locking in. I wonder if they're like too tall. I guess I can always cut them down a little bit if they don't want to seat in these holes like correctly. This part's pretty heavy, this other half of this mold. I'll have to work on how to make this a little more efficient on material usage, but this is more the proving stage of like, does this style of mold work consistently? Is it the kind of design I'm hoping I can use going forward? Alright, now I gotta pry this thing off, which shouldn't be too difficult. Get our screwdriver. There are like a number of tools that I use frequently, and this is one of them, where it like fills a lot of roles. Just trying to pry this up slowly, because I don't want to damage the part if I don't have to. Okay, here's some pegs cracking. Yeah, so we'll just have to pull out some of that stuff. Like that. Don't know what this is. So I guess we're just gonna cut that off. It shouldn't affect like the peg itself. Some of that's debris from when I drilled out these pegs, or these holes to make them fit the new pegs more snugly. It just introduced some debris that must have gotten caught in the silicone. The only issue is like, is that going to get filled with resin and eventually tear off? And I mean, if it does, it's like not the worst thing. I can always just drill the back of this out a little bit, like on each cast, which adds a little bit of cleanup work, but if that's some of the only work I have to do, that's pretty minimal. I've had to do way more on previous casts. Well, previous casts from earlier molds. This needs some cleanup as well. There's a little bit of clay debris. And our first cast will pick up a lot of that. Little parts where it's shredded. As I said before, this particular silicone is quite soft, so it tends to tear pretty easily. See how easily this will seep back in. So this line around the edge here kind of tells us where the top of this piece is. So if we meet that line pretty easily, then it'll seep correctly. So let's see how well that does. Just push this down in. Let's see if we can get these to all these pegs to catch their intended targets. See, that's not, some of these aren't catching, so we'll have to mess with that a little bit. Overall, it looks like they're, so I'm going to trim some of these off because it like wobbles. I just want it to sit more flat. This won't affect the inner part of the mold at all. Hopefully it doesn't, I could see this like separating later. Well, I'll just do this one. I don't want to introduce too much. See it like, well, it's actually okay right there. See, like separated a little bit there. These are different silicones. Sometimes they'll bond together and sometimes they won't. There could have also been some mold release on there, which prevented it from bonding. But it's probably just because they're different types. Looks pretty good. Anyway, to cut out that one injection channel. So let's see, how thick is that? So we'll just take this piece. We'll see how thick that is. Oh, it's pretty thin. It's right there. So we'll use that as a guide. So I want this to be around the same size, maybe slightly smaller than the actual width of that area. That way it's a more snug seal around the edge of the syringe. And sometimes this dull one is better because you can't cut too fast or cut too much because you kind of have to strike at it a bunch of times. Okay. Get our deploy syringe and see how, yeah, see that's like pretty snug. That's what I want because then it reduces like your backfill coming back up the channel. Well, that way it doesn't come back up when you're, you know, injecting it, or it minimally does anyway. But there's a little bits of debris in here I gotta pull out. So this should be ready for a test cast, which is pretty awesome. So if everything goes well and this produces like a nice cast, I'll have a complete set of torch molds that produce good casts, which will be nice. And then we can work on the gang mold, which is having several of the same part in your mold, allowing you to create, you know, more than one copy at a time. Pretty exciting. Just checking for any other like big chunks of clay or anything that might look like a problem for the initial cast. I don't see too much, it all looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna put the fan in the window and then get ready to do a test cast. Okay, that's done. Alright, so at one point I'll be putting on my respirator, so my voice will be a little bit muffled, but I think you'll still be able to hear me okay. Okay, respirator's on. Looks like my voice is still coming through okay. It's just going to be a little bit muffled. So I'm going to spray this whole side, and I'll spray like these sides in the front with mold release to prevent, you know, the resin from sticking, and it helps preserve your mold over time. And I'm going to spray this whole inside. I have a fan off to the right and a window, so I'm going to do that. Off camera, you just do like a light coat, just a dusting of like all the surfaces, and then let it dry. Alright, so you can see like a slight gloss. That slight gloss is the mold release. And as it dries, it'll go back to like a slightly dull state. We're going to use smooth cast 326 for the test cast. It's I think it's transparent, yeah, amber casting plastic, so it's designed to be dyed. I'm going to shake these really thoroughly because they will separate over time. At least the stuff in the yellow bottle will. Okay, now based on previous casts of these torsos, I think I'll need I need around I think 14 milliliters overall. So I'm going to measure out 7 and 7 in 2 containers, and then I'll combine them in a larger container to mix. Well, I'll add a little bit of dye because I just test dye them, just so that there's a color. So I'm going to get I have 2 separate syringes for the different materials. It just helps prolong the life of the syringe. This yellow bottle, this can it can like crystallize around the top, which will cause it to be difficult to open. I spilled this stuff pretty badly once, so I bought these channel lock pliers. So if you give a couple of squeezes, you'll hear it crack. And then give it like just a little turn, and that way you can safely open it every time without risking spilling it if it were to like jerk out of your hand or something. And I'll usually open this over the trash can because a lot of these crystals will fall off. You know, try to keep them from going into the resin, because it's just like, you know, debris and whatnot. I actually should have opened the blue one first, but it's good to just cover that stuff with the channel locks and how it can kind of self-seal. I'll come back to this in a minute. This stuff, the longer it's exposed to air, the quicker it'll crystallize. This stuff is a little more durable. So you want to do the yellow bottle last. So we're going to do this one. This syringe is nearing the end of its life because it's sticking. So this might be one of the last times that I use it. I'm trying to remove all the air if you can, or like the big pockets of air. You're going to have these little bubbles from shaking it. So you catch some there. You're going to just empty it and pull it again until you get where it's pretty much full. So then we'll just put this in here. Wipe off the edge. Close your bottle back up. That stuff will be affected by air as well. It's just not as volatile as the other stuff. And now you want to clean your syringe. I think is this way. I clean them between uses to try to get as many miles out of these things as I can before they're just like too covered in material to use anymore.
This is 99% isopropyl alcohol. It evaporates significantly faster than 91%. I think they're comparable. Like, this stuff is generally better, but I think as far as their cleaning ability, 91% is fine. Unfortunately, alcohol is very expensive now because of the pandemic, which is unfortunate because it was like $1.25 for 16 ounces or 32 ounces, and now it's, you know, impossible to find. There's a wire cleaner to get the alcohol out of the nozzle. Set this aside to dry. It doesn't look like it'll be enough, but it will. So we're just going to add some white and then add a little bit of orange. This stuff can also seal at the top. Just dries out from not being used. Three little drops. I use this plastic palette knife for mixing dyes because it's not porous, so it's easier to clean. It doesn't stain really. A little bit of this orange. I'm just going to stir this until it's consistent. These little beakers are also good for this because, like, you can see through it. So you can see, like, you know, when it's not, it still has dye that's not mixed. They just hold up better over time than something like Dixie cups or paper cups or whatever. You don't have to throw them away or recycle them as often. You just gotta be more diligent about cleaning them. I try to be pretty good about that. I've had this set for a year at least. Other pieces I've had for longer. This palette knife I've had for years. Most of my tools I've had for years. It's like, you know, if you only want to replace the stuff you need to. You don't want to replace stuff just because, like, you know, you used it inefficiently. It's just a better value for your money over time. Whether you're doing it for yourself or, like, for a commission or, you know, you're trying to, like, recoup your costs or what have you. Trying to minimize, like, your waste is always good. And waste includes your tools. Like, everything you throw away is waste. And that translates to dollars. So I like to find as much stuff as I can that's reusable. Okay, so that's cleaned up. So before I pour the part B, part A, whatever, I want to prep the mold, or the paint tank, the pressure tank. Little debris on here I want to remove. So I have to get that ready to, I'm going to put this in as soon as this is poured and injected. Okay, so we're going to pre-pressurize the tank, so I'm going to mute the mic while I'm doing that. Okay, so the tank is full, just waiting for us to be ready for this. So let's finish cleaning our syringe. This resin's fairly forgiving. It's got a, I think, a 7-minute pot life once it's mixed. So it's a decent amount of time to work. You don't have to rush. So we won't need those again. So we're going to mix these two into this. So let's get the mold ready. This is probably not totally dry, but it's probably fine. I usually spray it before I start, and then by the time I'm ready to cast, it's dry enough. So let's just make sure these are all seated. You don't feel any, like, yeah. Feel for, like, there's a bump right there. That's one that's not in. Bump right there. It's a little more work to get these lined up, get these bigger posts in, but you can, like, now I can tell, like, when they're not seated right, and they're not too hard to fit in. So this is ready. We don't have, because this is self-contained, we don't have to do anything else to it. I guess I could just mix one into one. So this is thinner, so I'm just going to mix this into this, and then we'll stir it with this guy. We have this one ready. I always stop and, like, rethink and do kind of a mental check to make sure I've got everything that I need, because, like, once you mix the resin halves, you can't stop. So you want to, like, check ahead and double check to make sure everything's, like, ready to go. So these are ready. I have my stir, I have my syringe, the mold's ready, the compressor is ready, the tank is ready. There, now it's actually ready. I left the lid on it. With faster resins, like, every second counts. So I'm just gonna start. So we'll just scrape this out real quick, do the best we can. This resin's forgiving, but others are not. So you always want to try to work as fast as you can. can use the container to help us scrape this thing off. A little bit fell out, so let's get that. We've got enough time to scrape it again. Now just stir it, get all this stuff that we just scraped off. Small motions, you don't want to splash it anywhere. So no, we're not stirring like, you know, violently, aggressively. You're just small motions. Try to make sure you scrape the sides. Get along the edge, like the little curved edge. Scrape the sides. Again, be careful, you don't want to splash it, so just firm but like gentle motions. That's probably good. We'll just give it a few more stirs just to be sure. We'll scrape the sides. Then we're gonna scrape and stir one more time. Just in case any of the stuff we scraped off is like not thoroughly mixed. You always want to make sure it's mixed as well as you can. Otherwise it may not set. That should be good. So we'll just scrape the sides, scrape the front, or scrape the our stir tool, and then it should be good. It should be ready to cast. So I'm gonna draw this into the syringe, then I'm gonna inject it, and then I'll put the mold into the pressure chamber. I'm not going to stop and narrate that, so as soon as I inject it, it's going into the tank. I'm going to start the compressor, because I turn it off in between. I don't need it running constantly, because my pressure valve's a little weird. It kicks on and off a lot. So that syringe, or that tool is clean, so I'm going to get this ready. And as soon as I put it in, I'll have to turn the compressor back on. I'm gonna draw this up slowly. We're gonna remove the air again. Just push up on it slow. Alright, moment of truth. Just eject it slowly. It should fill from the bottom. Let's see, we gotta come up the sides here. Alright, now we'll just add the extra in here. That should be good. Into the chamber. Okay. So, the pressure tank is full, I closed the valve and turned off the compressor, so it should be good now. I may have to turn it on like once, but it holds the air pretty well, so it shouldn't really need to be turned back on while the resin is curing. And what I'm doing here, I'm just scraping off like excess into a container, so I can use this for, you know, whatever I need it for. And you don't want to like be trying to clean that much resin off your tools, especially like because it'll just contaminate the alcohol, and then, you know, shortens the life of that. So if I don't have a dump mold, or I've got like this tiny amount, I don't have a dump mold ready right now, so it's something I'm gonna have to put together. I just use these little cups because they're good for, like, you know, just a little dump chamber. All right, so that's good. So this needs clean. This one's good. Let's see. Oh, we gotta clean both of these. So this one first, because the resin will. When it's like this, I can just pop out later. But this like thin film in here is like not gonna. It's just gonna be a pain in the ass to remove. So I'm just gonna clean it out with this. So do the same thing, just like slightly quicker scraping motions. You want to bring the alcohol up, so you want to cover all the surfaces. Kind of make sure you get it out of like these little numbers, little areas where it'll collect. Scrape the bottom, and scrape the sides, and dump this back in here. Now this alcohol works kind of like an emulsifier, which means it will cause the resin to separate from the alcohol and sink to the bottom. So once this becomes like too contaminated, you don't need to filter it. You basically just take another container, and I like to use glass because they're just more durable, and you'll pour it slowly into another container, trying to prevent the excess or the liquid resin that you've cleaned off from, you know, pouring out of that into your new container. So you will lose like a portion of it because it's, you know, the saturated resin material is you're not really going to be able to effectively salvage that, so you just lose some of it. When you lose some to evaporation, you lose it to, you know, drying off your tools or drying out these containers. But it's all like trying to just minimize how much you're wasting or losing in your waste. And this one doesn't need to be as thorough because it's only like a half of the resin. It's not like the combined mixture. Notice the music was a little low. Having to mute the compressor, you don't need like long additional belts of silence. It's not that interesting to watch or listen to, however you're watching. Okay, so this I think this resin has a 60-minute cure time. Let's see. 7 to 9 minute pot life, 60 minutes. Okay. So because those parts are thin, 60 minutes isn't enough. Usually I have to leave it in for like several hours because a lot of these epoxy resins are they heat cure via like a chemical reaction, and when your parts are thin or small, they can't generate enough heat to cure quickly, so it takes much longer for the mold to set, or the resin to set into like a hard, its final state, which can be good for you too. I'm gonna take off my mask.
So the upside of like having to wait is that your molds don't die as fast because the heat is what damages the mold, causes it to dry out, causes it to crack and become brittle. So like the slower cures that don't generate as much heat let your molds live a lot longer. Like the camera's very crooked. Well, no, this is crooked. I literally just have this thing propped up, so I know it's not going to be perfect. Okay, so that's pretty much done. So what's next is to work on this arm mold that's been kicking around here. This thing has moved again. It's got dust on it from me sanding stuff yesterday, so I don't want that dust to be in the mold. See if I can brush this off without adding streaks to the silicone. Okay. That's still not the right spot. It needs to be over more. Yeah. Alright, now I'm gonna have to wipe this all off with alcohol because it'll prevent the hot glue from sticking. This mold's gonna be a little different in a sense where like the first half's not gonna be, you know, one side, where the torso we just did, it's like it goes like inside and it's like a half and a half. I mean, this is still gonna be a half and a half, but it's the outer half of the mold is gonna just like completely cover this. So we're gonna pour like the piece that goes inside. So this is like the top, right? But because of the way the molds are designed, we're doing like this. So we're gonna fill all around this. We're gonna create this box first, and then we'll fill. We'll reverse it and we'll fill all this. Actually, now that I think about that, is that right? So like, we've got the box, right? Let me find the old one. So we'll use this box as like a helper. So it's good to like visualize what you're doing. So this is going to be smaller, of course. Okay, so this part is going to be the inside. Yeah. Yes, this will go inside. So it's fine. We're doing it right. I'm just trying to be extra cautious that I don't screw anything up and then have to like redo things. Okay, so now I'm gonna add all these little keys so that the mold fits back together correctly. Actually, I want to angle these up a little bit because we're going to have, you know, silicone around, filling around this. I'm going to have to vacuum it because of these. But I want to reduce like where air can get trapped. Now the shape of our mold is a partial key on its own. You don't necessarily need like a ton of these things, but I mean they help because you want to have like a snug fit between the two halves of your mold. It's like another tool that I made that I use a lot. It does like a bunch of different jobs. And sometimes the being plastic is it's not quite strong enough for what I need it to do. Like if it didn't bend at all, that'd be better. But can't really prevent that. Mostly I just want to be able to control like the exact size and shape of the impression, and sometimes with like its own bending I can't do that. You can add a couple more to the top here. I'm gonna just try to like evenly space them and evenly distribute them the best you can. Like you don't need to cover every surface, but they're helpful. I usually prefer to have like a zigzag or like a crisscross kind of pattern, but just with like how I wouldn't say weirdly shaped this mold is, but you know, it's not just like half a thing laying down. Sometimes you gotta flatten these out. So I can create a weird like little catch point. I gotta do some on here. Okay. That's probably good. That's enough. So we could reuse this box, that'd be great. Looks like we can, we'll just do it upside down. So I'm gonna cut this off, and I gotta measure this and score it. So let's see. Here we go. And leave like maybe 1/8 of an inch of space around each side. Found my pencil. Just putting like a score mark, so I'm gonna measure that. It's pretty cold here today. I need to close that window. Okay. So I don't know how square this is, so I'm just gonna hope for the best. I'll try to get parallel to that line. Actually, I want to do this on the back side, so I'm trying to carry this marker across. Doesn't need to be perfect, it's just close to where I want to be. I guess this little dip is where it is. I'm not feeling that. This is a little crunked up, so I don't know how well that's going to work, but so I end up just cutting that off. My glue gun's not ready, so I'm a little out of it today. This allergy medicine is starting to kick in, so it's making me a little dizzy. I don't want to cut through the front. This is just supposed to be a score. And it's a little deeper than that, but okay. So I'll probably just tape this to keep it closed so it doesn't bend. Well, it doesn't bend as much. Okay. Oh, I still need that. Okay, so let's see. Circle's going to be like this. Let's make some marks. Let's estimate how big it's going to be. Just like that. So we'll estimate here. And so if I move this, sometimes it's just a lot of estimating. That's too thin, so let's pull this back. So we'll go here, and then here. Okay, so I have to take these around to the outside. So this is a lot of estimating. Trying to get some kind of mark. Okay, so we have that. I'll bring this mark around. It's the farther one out. This one's a little tougher. Okay. Oops. I always do this wrong. So it's like this. That can go off the top. Not perfect, but it works. Okay. And remember, we're not cutting through, just part of the way through. Through this, basically just through this top layer of cardboard, paperboard, whatever, and some of the foam. Actually, no, we're cutting this completely off. That's right. Because we're gonna have, no, that sounds like shit. We're gonna replace. We're just gonna make a new piece for the end. Okay. That's garbage. So this is the top. This is the back. So then the wider point is the back, right? Yes. Okay. So we need to add all the little bumps that'll become the keys. So we're looking at a height of around here. Now this is going to go, we'll use this level all the way around. So that's the top of the silicone line. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to plug in the glue gun. Away our other tools. Okay. I have very limited space, so I always have to put my stuff away pretty quickly so that I don't get too cluttered of a workspace. Otherwise, if I get a cluttered workspace, then I can't really like concentrate because it just bothers me. So I frequently am like cleaning up and rearranging things. Okay. So this is all going to wait for that. What else do I have to work on? Sorry, today's a weird day. I have a medical procedure thing, a preventative care thing I have to do tomorrow. So I'm like prepping for that today. And then my allergies are kind of bad also. So I have all these things that are kind of like on my mind. I'm trying to stay on track as much as I can. I mean, normally like at a regular job, but would probably have taken today and tomorrow off. but since I'm able to work at my own pace, I'm trying to, you know, keep going forward. Let's see. So my head's in a bit of a fog today. I want to work on that. I have some other parts I want to get ready. Okay, so I have these legs I want to mold because I want these feet. So I don't really need to mold the whole thing. I can just mold the feet. So maybe I'll do that, right? This could actually just be a single part mold because I'm gonna cast these just to modify them, so I don't really even need like an accurate cast. I just need a cast that is the right, like just has both of the feet in it. I don't know if I can even, how easily I can clean this clay up. I might have to just skip it. Yeah, that's too messy. We're not going to worry about that right now. Okay. So we're going to build up. I can take these gloves off. So I'm going to build these feet up a little bit until this heat gun, or this glue gun is warmed up. Actually, I need to scrape this clay off. Or this glue. I always say that this stream is going to be like mostly me cleaning my tools and working occasionally in between. That was a weird place to cut that song off, but okay. I guess because it's part of a soundtrack, it like just goes into the next track. I'm doing this now just because I don't want to try to do it later once I've got a part on here that I don't want to potentially, like, you know, mess up and then have to do work to fix. Rather just start with a clean slate, essentially. As goofy as that sounds. Collect this clay, so I can reuse this even though it's just small amounts. Okay, so these molds should be pretty small. I'm basically just going to I guess do them like this. Because the way this should all fill pretty naturally. There's not really much to do. I'll probably just do pour molds for this. I'm not even going to do like these fancier ones because this is like the definition of an intermediary mold where it's going to immediately get like destroyed to then use for something else. Well, not the mold, but like the part. So I'm just going to put some clay under these to build up the feet. Let's see, how do I want to do this? So I want it to be contained. So do I actually do them like this? And then just fill the top? I want the mold to be this. So then if I invert that, yeah, I guess I just do them like, so you gotta like imagine them inverted, right? So it's like this. Yeah, so it's kind of like this. They're kind of angled. Not quite straight. Let's see. It's tough like imagining this stuff like in reverse, right? Because like you know what you want to do. Like I want it like this, and I want to just pour the resin in the top. So I guess then it's just like this, so the foot is angled. Yeah. Okay. Seems silly to like be overthinking it, but once you've poured the silicone, it's done. If you goof it up, then you just gotta like do it over again. So it'll take a little extra time at the beginning to like think about it. This will be here, so it's going to be the same but mirrored. So I guess I can start that. I guess I could just do this, right? But I'd rather just do them kind of the same angle. Needs to be angled more. I don't want them touching. Oh, this is kind of frustrating. So like this. I guess it just needs to come over more. Okay. That's close enough. So if that's the mold, right? I guess that works. So I don't need to fill this whole thing because basically I just need the top to be sealed. So whatever the size of this box is. So if I do something like this, right, we're only gonna fill it to like here. Like a little above the boots. Maybe actually I should come to the knees. So maybe we will just fill it with clay. Maybe it'll just be a little easier to control. Okay, so I'm just basically covering up to the point where like I need, which is kind of like under the knee. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're just getting it built up. Eventually there will be some original sculpts, but today's not the day. I'm not in a good mental state to start with, like, or to do some original stuff. I need to work just on this, like, lower demand prep stuff. gonna smooth this shape over. Get this ready for well, I'm not quite sure like how far up I'm going to build this mold. I guess I could do it a little lower and just leave like a big reservoir on the top. And I mean, like, so this is the kind of thing that could become a dump mold, where like you use it for parts you need or want to use, and you have like a place to just dump your excess resin, because these are intermediary parts. Like, I'm not gonna take the cast out of this mold and put them like directly on a figure. They're all gonna be manipulated in some way first, so they're like starter casts for other things, like whether I want like the feet or because I do want like different boot textures, like sculpts and styles and whatnot. I told you this allergy medicine is like really messing with my head today. I hate taking this stuff, but sometimes I have to, or I can't function. Mold positives, these clay positives are always a little tedious, even for me. It feels like you're not going anywhere, but I mean, it's just like work you need to do. So if nothing else, like, think of it as something to do that lets you think about like where you're going next, and what your plans are for, you know, this piece, or think about like another issue you're having and see if maybe you come up with a way to solve that, or it's like just trying to find ways to make the slower parts of the work more interesting, even if it's like replacing your thought of that work with something else. Like, that's fine. Okay, so that's probably good. I'll put a little bit there. Okay, it's a little too far up, so I'm gonna try to make like an upper ledge here under the calf, I guess. Just like debris from other stuff in here. Again, this isn't like meant to be a perfect, pulling perfect part. That's not really what it's for. This is to mold these feet and just get like them to come out defect free so that I can modify them. Because I find it's like easier to start with a piece that already exists. Like you're almost like remixing something in a way. You're taking like an established, you know, piece and you're reworking it into something new. That's why I went with like the name Neostalgia, because you know I'm trying to take like things that I thought were cool and doing something new with them outside of like just a straight copy, which is fine because like some of the stuff is hard to find or expensive now. There's definitely like an audience for this like vintage barbarian 5.5-inch style. Okay, that's a good starting point for this. So like how big do I want to make it? Do I want to fill this all in? It's probably just easier to do that, right? It's a lot more smoothing and stuff than I had planned on, but it'll still get me where I want to go. It shouldn't take like too long to build this up. I'm really just going to bulk this space in between here and then smooth it all over. This shouldn't need to be vacuumed or anything, so it doesn't need, I don't have to worry about like little air pockets or whatever. Oh, it's already like pretty close to the height it needs to be. I probably could just cap it off with like a piece here. And that's too big. Visitor, gonna cat visitor. Who insists on chewing on every box in my workspace. I'm wondering if I build up like around the bottom here. I think I should build like a level, like how far I want this to go, because if I pour this the way it is, I mean, yeah, it'll create like reservoirs at the top, but I think I just want to control like how big those are. This will be a very ugly mold in comparison to the other ones. But that is okay. It doesn't need to be beautiful if it's getting the job done that you need it to do. Some of those other molds I like taking my time just because I know it's going to take a while to build up like the positive, so I would just rather like try to have fun with it instead of just, you know, slogging through it and being like annoyed with it. I guess it needs to be at least as wide as like the feet, right? Since they're still going to be there. Because they stick out, you know, a decent amount. I don't want to steal too much of the bulk from that, but I also can spread it out to make it easier to build it up with other clay. I mean, it's all on the same side, so it shouldn't really matter. kind of keep going on this till it's like the right width. Yeah, it doesn't even need to be like nice. I'm just trying to meet the same width as these feet. We're getting there. Yeah, it doesn't even need to be the whole side of the mold, really, just like the part under the feet. Because I think that's the most important area. Sorry about my drinking sounds. This medication's dehydrate. I'm on 2 different medications right now. One for my procedure and one for my allergies, and I think they're both dehydrating me. I have a little bit of anxiety about this thing tomorrow, but it's really just a preventative thing, so it's not even something I should worry about. It's more just like the prep is kind of annoying. And the allergy med like messing with my brain. It's hard to like work on something creative when your head's kind of in a fog. Well, probably it's hard to work on much of anything, really. That's why I'm doing this foot mold, which needs to be done no matter what. So whether I'm like feeling like this or feeling 100%, it still needs done. Okay. That's not bad. Yeah, so I'll just start smoothing this stuff over. Yeah, I'll probably end up ducking out of the stream a little early today. It's just a weird day. Weird feels. Oh, see, because of the fog in my head, I totally forgot about the waiting for the glue gun to warm up, which should be, it should be good now. I mean, it's been a while, at least a half hour, right? So we can put the box together for this this arm mold. You might be able to mix up the silicone for it. See how my head feels in like another hour. I'll just get those to a more finished state before I stop and switch back to the other project. It's good to like focus on the thing you're doing and try to make other things like wait their turn when you're able. Because like humans don't multitask that well, regardless what people say. Just like narrating what I'm doing while thinking about what I'm doing. Like I can do them both because one is like a thinking, speaking part of your brain, and the other's motor functions, and they're not necessarily like the same. I mean, I don't know much about neurobiology, but I can't like type and talk at the same time, or write and talk at the same time. I have to like focus on one of the two things. I don't need to completely smooth it over right now. It's not ready to be boxed up. So I gotta figure out what I'm doing about the bottom here. If I'm gonna put like a shelf around it, or if I'm gonna waste less material that way. So I should build it up to maybe like here. Probably like a good point. But it's kind of silly to do it without having like the box that's going to go in, because you need to push the clay against the sides and stuff. So I'm just going to set this aside for now. How's this looking? It's still a little soft. Like it's done curing, but it's like soft, so it's not ready to come out. You need a jacket, it's cold in here. So this is clean, right? We cleaned this off already. So, okay, so we need to add, let's check this. Okay, so not, gotta make some marks here. So not here, not here. Okay, we got the top, so here, and then this is like, shit, like, yeah, so down this whole area, and then like here, we have to leave empty. So I'm going to use the glue gun. I'm just going to put down some dots. These are going to be keys. I used the pegs before. Shit, maybe this isn't a good idea. I did this the first couple molds. I just used glue beads like this. Maybe I should go back to the other thing. I don't know where those are though. Oh, they're all still attached, I think, to the... Yeah, they're all still attached. I have to break these off and glue them. Which maybe is not like the worst thing. Because I wanted to make little cones like this that I can break off and then just glue back on. And I went to a lot of time making these dumb little things. I think it was just the 3. Nope, there's another one. Yeah, I made a lot of these things. Like, I should make a dump mold that's just a bunch of these. So I'll set that aside. Actually, maybe we should just... Where's the... Trying to find my gray file. I'm either looking past it or it's just not in here. Nope, it's just buried. Maybe I should just use a knife instead of trying to scrape it off. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go back to these things. They seemed fine on the torso mold. Didn't seem too hard to like reseat. That's one lost. Brown one on the brown carpet. Never mind. He going. This should be enough. Plus the one little glue ball that we put down. I wonder if I can just hot glue these. I wonder if that'll work. The super glue is probably better. Or the Gorilla Glue, whatever. Okay. Just got a bunch of those. Got this. So I guess we'll glue these down, right? How many we got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. Can I find another one real quick? There it is. Hey, we got lucky. I got 20. Okay. So let's see, we could do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Put this one here. Okay, I'll do that. Much easier to do this when it's not, you know, already built, the box. Now this has to dry completely because I had one I did previous where the glue wasn't totally dry, and actually I'm gonna spread these out, and it like caused the silicone to kind of gel that it came in contact with, not like all of it. So I have to try to avoid that. For obvious reasons. Should probably put that one there. It's much easier to just put them together when they're little paper or little dots instead of like, you know, actual parts. So you know, up here so they're not like touching each other. Should actually dry a little faster. Spread out like this on the spreading out the glue rather. Like these aren't the end all be all of the mold, they're just to keep the inner and outer pieces aligned. Actually move this down a little bit. So it should be staggered a little bit. And spread them out a little bit actually. Allow us to use less of them and less glue. So let's see. So that looks pretty good, right? Let's test it around this. Doesn't look like it comes in too close to contact with any of the edges of the parts, so that's good. Okay. So we can start gluing this on. So we'll just start with this side. I'm gonna give these inner pieces time to dry too. Alright, so because we're doing like this box, we're just gonna do the other side. And we'll use it to seal the back. Looks good. I'll seal the back. Another viewer tell me this is a welder's joint. You like add another bead and then like spread it out, because this acrylic doesn't always want to stick to the glue. It's got to be very clean for it to stick. Even still, if you put too much pressure on it, it'll pop off. It doesn't really like get into the, you know, the fibers because there aren't any. It's acrylic. Seal up these corners. Just seal up anywhere that silicone could leak out. Because this is foam, like going a little more generous. That's probably good because it doesn't give you like a flush connection to the surface. It still looks like it's not sealed. Well, it definitely is now. Okay. So we need a piece for the front. It's still, see, it's like still not. Oh, because it's separated here. That's why. So I think I might actually put a little bit under here. See if I can get it to stay. Or prefer that to be like more square than less square. Okay, we gotta do another. So I guess we've only got 4 of these left. I actually forgot about the outside, or the 4th wall. So I'm gonna have to dot a little bit of glue on that. But I think first I need to get these measurements. Let's get on our notepad. Okay, so I need a diagram. So we'll go off the front. Okay, so this is the front. So we need centimeters, 7.4. 5.6, 6, and this is 7.3. So that's the exact inside size. It may taper up or down vertically, but I'm not going to worry about that. So our total volume, we need the height. So let's see, we're looking at we'll say 8 high. Okay, so we use the larger number for these two sides. When between these two, we're going to use something in between. So we're going to subtract 2 off of this to 5.8 and add it here. So 5.8 is going to be our side dimension, and 7.4 is going to be our back side dimension. 8 is our height for the amount of silicone we want to put in up to this line. I will be right back. I have to use the restroom. So you guys are seeing. So upside down for me is right side up for you. Okay. So I will return. And I will pause the microphone. Returned. Okay, so let's do our math. So for that, we need a calculator. So we need, let's see, 8 by 8 times 7.4 times 5.8. 343.36. So we're going to round this up. 344 total volume. Okay. So we'll need to subtract the size, the rough size of this part from this total volume, because we just want the difference. We could use something like rice, which I have done before, but I am not doing it now because I don't want to introduce. It introduces like dust into the mold, because it has to be like washed and whatnot before you use it, and so I just haven't done that. So instead I'm just doing like estimated math. So I'm going to estimate the part size, right? So the part is like kind of an oval. It's kind of like this, and it's got these two things on it, right? So we're going to get this dimension, and then our rough height. Okay, so let's do that. We'll estimate here. It would be nice if I could see this from one side. Okay, so it looks like our highest is 7.5. We'll round down. We'll round it to 7, because it's better to have just a little bit left over. Looks like our widest point is 5 point, well, we'll say 5.5, because it comes in here and it goes back there. So 5.5 is probably more than accurate. So that's our width. And our depth, well, you probably just go off the bottom, right? We're looking at 4.7. So we'll say 4.5. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to end up with something that's bigger. So actually I should knock off a little bit of this. So let's see, our center of area is about 2 wide, and then we said 4.5, so we could add, so it's a 7 by 4. Well, let's knock this down to 4. 4, 2, we'll say 2.5. And then we'll knock this down to 5. Okay, so we have a little easier math here. So we'll do 7 times 5 times, yeah, we're actually removing this, so we're 2.5. 87, so we'll round this up to 88. Part volume. So we're going to subtract these two to get our silicone volume estimate. So, nope. 344 minus 88. 256. So this is our estimated silicone volume is 256 milliliters. And then if we divide this by 2, we have 100, 25, and 3. So 128 of each. Milliliters, not millimeters. So this is our AB. What does that look like on a vessel? Look at this. So 256, well, this is 250, 200, and this is 30, right? 200, 150, 175, 200, yeah, so this is 275. So we're like somewhere between in here. If you look at the rough size of this, it's probably actually too much. we can like chop up the excess and use it as filler on the next half. I've been a little under on my math lately, so I think in this case I might want to go a little bit over. It does seem like a lot over though. It almost fills that whole space. It feels like it's way too much. Do we have rice? Can we try that? Just because we're spitballing here. So they had a container of it. It doesn't look like it. So we're not going to. We're just going to stick with the math we have. If it's too much, it's too much. And we'll just learn for next time. Okay, so let's put this away. So I need to add this outer wall. So where's this going to go? This is the outside. So we'll flip this over and we'll do this, right? So then we can glue these together here. So then our upper line, need that pencil again, is here and here. So this is our upper line. Hopefully this is a little bent, but it'll be fine. So we can get away with just like a few keys here. Actually, let's look at how close that gets. So they should be maybe more than halfway up. One, two, three, four. These have to be dry. I don't know how long that's going to take to dry. So we'll glue this on. Yeah, that looks good. And then come back to, we'll set this aside. much easier when they're both, when the seam you're trying to close is just all foam core. Put a little on the inside. Make sure it's closed. Put some on the inside here. Well, that's very close to the edge, actually. Shit. It needs to be further out. So I gotta make an adjustment. I'm glad I caught it now, though, instead of later. I mean, I guess honestly, it's probably fine inside the mold, because it's got nowhere to go. But the mold should be like a little bit thicker. So we'll just move this a little bit. Actually, I might have to just move this whole part. I'm just going to use it like a hinge. So we'll do this. We're just going to move it out a little bit. Just reheat all this glue. Another benefit to hot glue, being able to reshape it. And that makes the space between the input, the inject, and the wall about 1/8 of an inch, which is better. This is going to be a problem. Okay, that should be pretty solid. Okay, so now I basically have to wait for this glue to dry. Which looks like it's fairly dry. And by the time we're like done mixing up silicone and getting it back and stuff, this should be good. Okay, so I'll put away. I think we can turn off the glue gun. So let that cool. Put this aside. How's this looking? I'm not quite sure I want to like risk pulling it out of the mold just yet. Maybe closer to the end. I can do that. Usually this, there we go. So usually it just falls out. This is pretty thin, so this will tell us, like, you see how flexible this is right now? This shouldn't flex at all. So the torso is not even close to being ready to pull out. So this is like a good way, this scrap resin lets you kind of see where you're at without touching the part and risking messing it up. So let's see, we're going to move on to silicone. Need our gloves again. Break out our silicone again. I just use this. Well, I guess it's been 2 days, so it could have separated a little bit. It doesn't hurt to just stir it a little bit just to be sure. I can feel like it's a little separated. This stuff will wear out your arm trying to stir it, so definitely don't rush it, just do your best to get it blended. I can feel it through the screwdriver where it's not blended. It feels like bumpy on the bottom instead of smooth. So that tells me that there's a little bit of a separation there. The other part should be fine. It doesn't really separate like the white stuff does. Okay, that's probably good. I'll just flip this around because I'm going to pour it out of this side. The side opposite the handle. Lightly cap it, put it away, and then I gotta clean this this mixing tool. Shit. Pull my respirator back on. This stuff smells terrible. I shouldn't be breathing it in anyway.
Okay. Wash this off real quick. Here's the other part. This should need barely anything. I spilled this stuff last time, so I'm just trying to be a little more careful. Not a big splash, or a big spill, but it splashed everywhere. So 128. So I'm actually going to estimate down instead of up. because I feel like this is too much. So I'm going to go down to, instead of 128, I'll probably just do 125, which is like not, you know, a significant difference, but it's a little easier to measure on the cups. So let's see. Oh, it was already the no, that was the wrong one. 100. Do I not have? I guess not. 150. Well, I guess we could do 125 here. And we'll guesstimate here. That's too small. I guess I don't have another vessel that's 125, or has 100 enough for that. That's 130, where that mark was. So that should be about 125. This is more clearly marked, so 125. Okay. So we'll just start with one. I honestly feel like I could go down to 100 and have like, whatever. We're just gonna do this. We're not gonna backtrack now. Try to keep the pour a little high to stretch out air that's trapped in it from stirring. Okay. That'll probably put us right exactly where we need to be. A little bit down the side. Just wipe that off real quick. Okay, leave that set aside. We can close up this big one. Clean our tool again. I'll pour out another 125 here. Set that aside. Same deal as before. Pour a little bit high. Try to stretch out the silicone. Pull out some of those air bubbles. Slow it down toward the end. Cut it off a little bit before. It's pretty close to where we want. Okay. So like before, it looks like we're around 250 milliliters. So then we're gonna expect this to like expand quite a bit when we put it into the vacuum chamber. So we're gonna have to put it into a bigger container. So we're gonna use that quart one, but I gotta clean it out. So it has silicone in it from last time. So I think I just have a second one. I can use that to minimize downtime. Right. This one does need cleaned out there too. Just dust. I haven't used it in a while. I've been doing a lot of smaller stuff lately. I mean, this really feels like overkill on this silicone, but whatever. I probably should have built up the corners. Yeah, I definitely feel like I screwed this up. Because then it's got to be like even bigger on the outside. I should have made like a round container. I'm real tempted to change this. This is one of those weird moments where like you're pretty sure you messed up, but you don't know what to do about it. You know what? Screw it. We're just gonna go forward, and we'll make a note that, you know, to be a little more wary next time, because like at least both of the parts are in here. It's not like I have to make another mold for the other arm. We can just proceed with like how they are, and just chalk it up to a lesson learned. At least the mold will still be useful. It's not like we're gonna, you know, create something we can't use. It's just gonna work out a little different than I had imagined. Okay, I don't feel like waiting for this, so. think I got pretty much everything over there. Trying to help it along. Because I don't feel like waiting for it either. Alright, so there's that. Clean this one more time. Okay, just gotta set up the vacuum chamber before I mix these together. So I'm gonna step away for a second. Okay, so I'll mix this into this, stir it to make sure everything is mixed together correctly. I gotta clean this off. And then I'll put it in the vac chamber. I'll mute the mic while that's running, which should be about a minute, maybe less. And then we'll come back and pour it. So double check, the vacuum chamber is almost running. The seal moved a little bit, so I try to have everything ready so I can just put it in immediately and not have to do anything else. So pour this, I pour again. I'll actually use this one for this part. Scrape this. Let's go on the same side. Go back and scrape out the rest. Well, as much as we can anyway. That looks pretty good. So do the same thing. We'll try to scrape this down the side. Scrape that off. Alright, set these aside. We'll clean those shortly. Let's get this ready. And mix it thoroughly, scraping the sides, just like making cake batter. And make sure you mix everything together just right. Mix it all thoroughly. You don't want clumps of baking soda in your cake mix. It's the same thing. You don't want unmixed clumps of silicone. I'm trying to mix this more thoroughly in here, and then we'll go back and scrape the sides again. Keep stirring until there's no swirling, so it's one consistent color. You gotta scrape the bottom and the sides, especially the little lip around the edge, the bottom edge. Yeah. So a mixing tool that's got a slight curved corner, they can get into there. Something with a sharp corner is not going to do it. And then scrape your tool, because you'll have small amounts of unmixed silicone on it. And try to make sure all that stuff is mixed. So I can see the slight swirling. So I'm going to try to mix that in here. Alright, I think it's good. So it's going to bubble up, so I'm not going to worry too much about giving the sides a scrape here. I'll let it do its thing, and then when we pour it into the mold, we'll try to be more thorough on the sides. Alright, we're going into the tank, so we're going to mute the mic in a moment. Alright, where's my little sign? Okay, so we've gotten this vacuumed. You can see how much it rose, almost twice its size. Let's scrape this all back down into there. Alright, let's get to pouring. So we're gonna go down this corner here. That's weird. That's like one of the lowest points. We're gonna try to just pour slowly from there up. So we hit the wall. Try to let that work itself out. Set this down slowly and just keep pouring. It's gonna be a mess of this stuff. I think I'm gonna run a vacuum on this, like really briefly. Because those arm sockets, I'm worried they could get air trapped in them. Dang, I might actually be short silicone. Holy cow. I'm just gonna pour a little faster then. I can try to have some time to jam some parts in there. Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna be short. Maybe not. Oh yeah, we'll definitely be short. Sorry. Try to keep it aimed well, so scraping it's not always the easiest thing to do. It looks like there's enough silicone. I've made much bigger and sloppier molds than this. This isn't actually too bad. I'm gonna run it back on this real quick. I want to be sure all the little nooks are filled. So I'm gonna mute the mic again. Okay, so there's a decent amount of air came out, so I'm pretty confident that those shoulder sockets are going to be fine. Oops. I think I'm going to jam some scrap silicone in here because I want to raise this top part up a little bit. Okay, so let's see what I have left. So I know there's a big hole down here. So push that one down there. We'll do another one. And another one, I think. Because these seem to be reservoirs, so it's got to be high enough that those get filled. Let's try one over here. Oops. Yeah. We can do another piece down there. Yep. As low as we can go. I guess we can just tilt it. Try this one down this corner. Oops, shit. So not quite where I want it. Just want to make sure that when you like push this stuff down, you're not introducing like air bubbles around it. Shit. Because it can like, if there's an air bubble caused by putting one of those pieces in here, it can cause that area of your mold to like deform. Like when you put it under pressure, that part is gonna compress. That airspace is gonna compress, which will then pull like other parts of your mold in directions you don't want them to go. That's probably good. Trying to float back up. Get out of here. Alright, that should be good. I'll just throw this thing in here because I don't need it. Alright. That's a much bigger mold than I wanted now that I, like, you know, I'm thinking about it. But, I can still make it work. It'll just be chunky. Much chunkier than I had wanted. A little bit of leakage down there. That's manageable. Alright. Clean our tools again. So we'll clean this stuff. We're gonna clean our clean this thing before it gets too jellied. It starts becoming partially cured. Definitely got a bunch of silicone jelly all over my table. We're all setting tools down, so I'm going to clean that up. Let's see, I'm going to clean these two. Well, let's clean the table off first before I do this. So let's just group this stuff up a little bit. Just in case it's thinking of sticking around. Okay. Let's see. That's good. Wish that's all flattened back up, but it'll be fine. Clean these things out. at the bottom? I think I just got the sides. This container. Like I'm feeding this thing like a baby kitten. Here's your juice. It's been a pretty lonely stream today. No one's in the chat. That's cool though. It's cool if you're just watching, just hanging out. I'll be your Bob Ross. Just working by myself and let me sit back and relax. I don't know if my schedule is actually posted to Twitch or not. I know it sends out emails to those of you following when I'm going to be on, but I don't think people just browsing my profile on my page are seeing that, so I'll have to add it. I'm sticking to my schedule, so unfortunately with other stuff going on in my life, this is like the best window, the best time bracket for me to be streaming. It's also the best time for me to be working. So it really just works out that I'm able to stream just while I'm working. I don't have to set up anything new. And if you're able to watch, cool. If not, then, you know, maybe another time. Alright, so we got, we opened up a new mold today. Let's take off my mask.
So what did I do today? Open up the torso mold from last week. Got a test cast of that in. Let's take a look at that chip. We'll see where we're at. Still pretty flexible. I don't think it's safe to pull it out, which is unfortunate. It'd be really cool to see it now, but I don't want to risk breaking it or like warping it. I mean, it would probably return to its like regular form, but it's not really something I want to mess with after, you know, putting all this work into getting it done. We got this mold made and poured today. We finished tweaking the arms and whatnot. I guess we'll just leave that. So we'll be able to pour the other half of this next time on Wednesday. So that's cool. That's one more thing we got done. So that's 2 things. We're getting more done each time, which is nice. I was feeling a little off earlier. I'm feeling better now, but I'm glad I was able to sit here for the full stream, for the full 4 hours, and be productive pretty much the whole time, and have minimal time away. I'll be back on Wednesday. It's possible I won't. I might be recovering from the procedure I'm having done tomorrow. It sounds pretty straightforward, pretty easy. So I think it'll be okay, and I think I'll be back on Wednesday as normal. So if you're around, if you have the time, come and hang out. We can talk nerd stuff. You can just watch me work. I'll answer whatever questions I can. If you have any interest in this hobby or this practice or whatever, and I'm happy to help you in any way that I can, whether it's just information or tips or my thoughts on how I approach something. Maybe you're having a similar area of struggle and you could use, like, you know, a second brain. But I'm gonna jump off a little early today, so I have to get ready for something later tonight. So thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out in the chat if you were able to, and I'll see you on Friday.